Morning, everybody. Morning. Somebody got their speaker on the. Might be me. Is that better? It's better. It was me. It was me. Okay. Welcome, everybody. We're here to consider a license application for the Lime Kiln Inn. The format of the meeting will be in a minute. I'll ask everybody to introduce themselves, and then we'll go through the various procedures of people presenting their reports, people having a chance to speak and ask questions. There's a bit of blurb I've got to read beforehand, which I might see a little bit. This is a hybrid meeting. We have members of the committee, officers, public speakers, and members of the public physically present in the room. We also have some people watching the meeting on Teams. I think there's one, isn't there? Watching the meeting. Cameras within the room allow us to film the meeting for viewers on Teams and also record the meeting. So you should be aware that you may be recorded, even if you're not participating in the meeting. If that causes you a concern, let me know. If you've brought your own device with them, you should ensure that cameras are switched off and also put on silent. Please do not use the chat function within Teams for anything. All contributions must be made verbally. Okay, we'll get to the main meat of the meeting. Apologies for absence. Claire.
None, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll introduce ourselves first. Should have elected the chair, shouldn't we?
Simon Carswell as chair.
And I will second that. Thank
you. Duly elected.
Yeah, okay. We'll introduce ourselves. My name's Simon Carswell. I'm a Somerset councillor for Street.
Good morning, my name's Simon Coles. I'm a Taunton councillor. Sorry, my name's Simon Coles. I'm a Taunton councillor. I represent Taunton East.
Martin Lovell, and I'm the elected member for here, Shepton Mallet. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go around the room. Licensing officer, Rachel.
My name's Rachel Lloyd. I'm the licensing officer.
My name's Claire Dickin. The department is called Democratic Services. It means that we put together public meetings.
Anne Cheslett, legal advisor.
My name's Jason Schenkel. I'm the owner of the Lime Kiln, therefore the applicant.
My name's Elaine Elliott. I'm joint owner with my husband of Self-Catering Barns at West Knoll House. So we're resident and business owner local to the Lime Kiln Inn.
Thank you very much. This is a formal meeting, but we'll keep it as informal as we can. I will now ask, what we'll do, we'll go through the licensing officer will present the report, then you'll all be given a chance to speak in turn and ask questions of each other. So if I can ask the licensing officer to present their report, please.
Thank you. So as we've already discussed, an application's been received to vary the premises licence for the Lime Kiln Inn. The building is already licensed for the sale of alcohol, and a copy of the current licence can be found in Appendix 3, which is shown on page 27 of the reports pack. The variation which has been proposed is to add an external area to the licence and for this to be authorised for the sale of alcohol. A copy of the application can be found from page 13, and a plan showing the current and proposed external areas are shown in Appendix 2, which is on from page 25 in the pack. The hours for the sale of alcohol are for the external area sort of replicated as what's currently already licensed. So looking for exactly the same as what they're licensed for the inside of the building in the external area. We've received representations from local residents. These can be found in Appendix 4, which is from page 35. And the summary of the representations are concerns about noise from bike nights, which people have found to be stressful, music from bike nights could be heard at the residents' properties, concerns about increased noise from customers when alcohol is served outside. The geography of the area causes noise to travel easily into where the residents live, and it also echoes, and concerns about noise affecting local holiday letting businesses. A complaint was made to the licensing authority about the bike nights, and as part of the investigation of this, it came to light that alcohol was being served outside. This was brought to the attention of the premises licence holder, and shortly after, the application to correct that and add the area was submitted. The applicant has stated that one of the reasons that they would like to add the external area is to help avoid congestion when they have sort of the events like the bike nights and classic car shows, so that there's not a build-up of people in the premises. We've also received the applicant and the police have agreed conditions with the premises licence holder, and these cover things like producing an event management plan when events are held at the premises, training for staff on the sale of alcohol to ensure that alcohol isn't served to people who are intoxicated or underage persons, keeping an incident book, operating a Challenge 25 proof of age policy, and having CCTV at the premises, ensuring that glassware is either toughened or polycarbonate, and having an anti-drugs policy in place at the premises. We have received evidence that the application was advertised correctly according with the regulations, so at the premises and both in a local newspaper. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Do any members of the committee have any questions of Rachel? No? Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to ask any questions of Rachel as licensing officer? I'll come, Mr. and Mrs. Elliott, do you want to ask her any questions? Can you just put your microphone on if you can? Yeah, that's okay.
I was just wondering what time bike nights and that will go on to, is it?
So the applicant has, well, their premises is currently licensed to stay open to be open from 11 o'clock in the morning until midnight. The bike nights in itself aren't a licensable activity, so they would be treated as kind of, just customers of the pub. So yeah, so basically, yeah, that would be the maximum amount of time that the latest time they can be at the premises.
Thank you. Does the applicant have any questions of the licensing officer?
No.
And Anne, do you have any questions?
No.
I had to look up your name then. Right, thank you. Okay, I'm now going to ask if the applicant wishes to present their case. Would you like to go ahead?
Yes, thank you. Well, as the licensing officer has explained, I think she's pretty much covered everything. But basically, I've bought the pub about 15 months ago, moved from another one in the New Forest. I've been in the pub trade since I've been in England, so 25 years. I myself am not mad about motorbikes or classic cars, etc. But in the area, there are a lot of people that are very keen on classic cars, motorbikes, etc. And I was approached by a group who said we would like to have a motorbike evening once a week or once every 2 weeks, and pleasant enough people. And I said, yes, that sounds good. I think pubs in general are looking for ways to make more income nowadays, as things have become tougher and tougher, as we're all aware. And that's why we started the motorbike evenings, the same as the classic car shows, which we have on Sunday mornings, every other Sunday morning. The bikers themselves, motorbike people, I would say they're generally middle-aged, nice bunch of people. sensible sort of people. They don't drink and drive as such. They would come along and have 1 or 2 alcoholic drinks and then go on their way. Yes, what we found was when we started these events, after a few weeks, the bar area would be completely congested. Too many people to try and serve. And we'd have our regular diners, of course, because the pub is 90% a dining pub. It's a food pub. So we decided to set up a little bar on the lawn. We've got a lot of outdoor space, and serve alcohol from out there to stop the congestion of the bar area. At the same time, we started doing burgers outside. I, of course, was unaware that we were not licensed to sell alcohol on the lawn outside, even though it's part of the same premises. And that's where the whole thing came about. I was approached by the licensing officer, and she said, you are going to need to do a variation to your license if you want to continue with this, which I did. And that is why we are here today. Basically, just to explain, the motorbike evenings, people would arrive at 5 at the earliest, and generally all be gone by 8 or 9 p.m. at the very latest. If and when we've had music outside, it's been a solo artist, someone on a guitar, for example, and he would generally perform from 6 until 8 p.m. and then the music would end. Obviously, we have had concerns from local residents, like Elaine and Steve, about the noise of motorbikes up and down on the road, but that is obviously out of my control and hard to control how people are going to ride or drive once they're on the road, except for saying that we do warn them and ask them to leave courteously and consider other members of the public. Yeah, so these events generally are over by 8 or 9. Trying to see if there's anything else I need to add. What I have thought about, and I'm not sure how we go about this, but the speed limit on the road outside the pub is 60 miles an hour. Whereas if you continue down the road another mile or so, it becomes 40. And the same the other direction, another mile or so, and it becomes 40 and then 30. Perhaps if we could get hold of highways and ask them to reduce the speed to, say, 40, that would obviously slow vehicles and motorbikes, all of them down, creating a little less noise, and be beneficial to the pub itself because people are more likely to pull in for a meal, etc., if they're traveling past more slowly. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Members of the committee, do you want to ask any questions to the applicant? Martin?
Thank you, sir. I mean, yes, you're obviously saying as a rule that they apply their own natural restriction on hours. But obviously what we're dealing is that we could be dealing with people making noise outside of the generally accepted norms, so that we're not ruling that out. Could you give an idea what sort of issues might come up? I mean, some, could there be a biker still there at 12 and making a noise going up and down the road? I mean, it's because that's, once we've agreed to this, then we can't stop that happening. So thank you.
No, I fully understand that. There's obviously we can't say that would never happen, although I would say it's unlikely. I think because of the location of the pub, and as I say, it's a dining pub, really and truly. We very seldom close later than 10 p.m. at night, sometimes 11 on a weekend. But I would say, generally speaking, everyone is gone from the place by 11 at the very latest, 10, half 10 during weekdays. And I think the bikers tend to sort of fizzle out from about 9 generally. They do police themselves. They have people who control the event, and generally they always seem to be gone by about 9 p.m. Obviously, we can't say for a fact that they wouldn't be there later, but that has seemed to be the norm so far.
Yeah, I'm just trying to reconcile what you said with what other people have been saying, which is that the noise goes on quite a lot later than that. I appreciate you cannot control motorbikes going up and down the road. It's a public highway. That's not within your control. But you were suggesting that you rarely have the bar open after 11 o'clock at a weekend, and often on weeknights you're closing the bar at 10 because that's when the diners are finished. So I'm trying to reconcile the period of noise that locals have written in and complained about later on in the evening, after the times you're suggesting that the bikers have left, and other events that you hold there seem to be going earlier in the evening than you are closing, and there are still concerns about the noise being generated. The significant incident was motorbikes, certainly, but there was talk of other vehicles as well. I'm trying to reconcile that 2-hour gap between your suggestion of people going home and no longer using the premises and the noise complaints. Do you have a view on that?
Well, a lot of pubs in general will have a lot of live music events, bands, etc., and they'll do that regularly. They might do it every week or every 2 weeks or monthly. But I can honestly say that in the time I've been there, as I say, it is a food pub, and we've had one band there who performed on the patio. And the only reason I had them was because they said they'd had a gig somewhere else which had been cancelled. Could we accommodate them? Would we allow them to perform that evening? And at a reduced rate, sort of half the price. So I said, yes, okay. That was in the enclosed patio area. Apart from that, we've had a 60th birthday party, and they had live music. And I think that is, in the time I've been there, 15 months, the only times that we've had live music. And those 2 times were on the patio area, which is enclosed. Apart from that, we've had a solo artist when we've had our motorbike evenings. And he probably performed 6 times in total. Then we had also the final event of the season, which was on a Saturday. And there was a duo who the motorbikers, the organisers themselves brought in, because they also raise money for charity, these bikers, and that is for the local air ambulance thing.
I still remain slightly concerned about disparity between the time of your clientele leaving at slightly earlier times. You're suggesting 9 o'clock, and diners mostly having gone home by 10. I'm trying to reconcile that to the noise nuisance that's being reported to us. I'm not clear where that's coming from if your clientele have all left by 9 o'clock. With the diners leaving at 10. I'm not sure what the how the noise is still happening.
Yes, I'm also a bit unclear on that. Perhaps on the occasions that we had the band on the patio, and which was one occasion, and then the 60th birthday party where they had a performer, that probably went on until 11. Which we were obviously licensed to allow the music until 11. But apart from that, to the best of my recollection, the music involved with motorbike evenings hasn't been after 9 p.m. And generally, most of them would have gone by 9.
Thank you. I've just got a couple of comments or questions. Obviously, the speed limit's outside the remit of this committee, but if local parish or people wish to make a submission to highways, they can. There being a road and not being in a built-up area, I think it's unlikely that speed limits would be reduced. You're saying that the evenings go on in the summer to 8 or 9 latest. I'm just wondering whether during the summer months, July, August, if it's a particularly nice evening, people might be staying much later. And also, you're talking about perhaps having weddings at the venue. And no doubt, I suppose that would involve a marquee, but you might have music and entertainment going on later for those evenings. Can you just clarify on that?
Yes, that is something we are considering. Although I think that's a bit of a different matter because I think I'd have to go through a complete planning process for that. Because what I have proposed and suggested is putting up a permanent marquee, which would be quite substantial, something you wouldn't want to put up and take down after each event. So it would make sense to have that up permanently. And I am fully aware that if that was to go ahead, we would have to go down the planning permission route. And that's likely to cost a fair bit of money and also take a bit of time. So I think that's maybe a little bit aside from the issues we have at the moment. I have spoken to a local planning lady who's advised what the procedure would be, what the costs would be, etc., etc.
Okay, thank you. I think I stepped outside our remit then. Would Mr. and Mrs. Elliott, would you like to ask any questions?
So can I just comment on the comments about the road, because that is fairly relevant to what's been going on. Obviously, we've had the benefit of experiencing these events prior to the licence application, which is quite positive in a way, because what could have happened was the licence would have got granted, and then we would have experienced the motorbikes, the noise, etc. But because Jason was acting outside of his licence, we had that experience. I do want to comment about the A372 because we've lived in Knowle for 9 years now, and there has been an ongoing campaign to decrease the speed limit, and so far it has hit a brick wall. So we are not under any illusion that that will happen. Anyone that lives in the area will be aware that it is actually quite a nice stretch of road. It's got good visibility. The trouble with that is it does encourage people to drive fast. I myself, on more than one occasion, have been overtaken turning into the turning for Bynum. I've been overtaken on the junction. So that is an ongoing issue. With regard to the timings, whilst I appreciate that we are saying that the motorbike evenings end at 9, the licence application will take any operation there to midnight and beyond. And Jason is already advertising on his website that he is doing weddings and has a permanent marquee, and that is on his website already. So there is intention there, and therefore the disturbance we are dealing with is up to midnight, not until 9 o'clock. I think that's really where we're coming from. Knowle itself, if anyone doesn't know it, it's a small hamlet. Most of it is in a conservation area. Many of the buildings, like our own, are listed grade 2, which means we can't protect ourselves with double glazing, etc. So therefore, when we go to bed, because we have livestock and we have guests, we tend to go to bed reasonably early in the evening. And we will hear music going on beyond 9 o'clock, and that will disturb us. And we won't be able to warn our guests. We've got bookings going into the summer now. If we warn our guests that they might be disturbed up to midnight, then they could well cancel. So that's my comments on Jason's, what Jason's had to say. I do apologise, I've not attended a meeting like this before, so I'm not sure if I've overstepped the mark or, said too much. I didn't know if you want me to comment on what Jason has said or present our full objection. So if you want to ask me any questions, please do.
You will get a chance in a minute to
Okay.
do your full objection, so we'll have to wait
Thank you.
until that one. Does the licensing officer have any questions of the applicant?
No, I just wanted to mention that I know obviously you were in contact yesterday about some letter in support of your application, and I don't know if you intend that you would like to introduce that, but if it's introduced now, then it has to be with the agreement of all parties, obviously the committee and Mr. and Mrs. Elliott. So I just wanted to kind of just say that really, that was all. Thank you. I've got no comments at the moment. Thank you.
Were you going to present that as evidence, Mr. I've got your name on Shingle. If you were, I've just got to ask permission for everybody to.
Sure. Well, the letter is from our closest neighbour. Oh, sorry.
Stop you there. Is everybody happy for this to be presented as evidence because it's after the
After the deadline.
the deadline? Okay. Okay. So in that case, we won't hear letter of support. Thank you.
Okay.
Before we go ahead, I need the loo. Can we just have a couple of minutes adjournment? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. On occasion, we're straying outside licensing here with planning and highways, but I apologise for that. Just to say, at the moment, trying with the names, Mr. Shinkle is operating within his licensing hours. The main thing seems to be this discrepancy between when the events Mr. Shinkle say are ending and the noise perhaps is ending, and what residents feel that when the noise is ending. We'll now go on. We would have now gone on to responsible authorities. However, no responsible authorities have issued any objections. I think you, as I think Rachel alluded to, you did have discussions with the police and you've come to agreement over a few things. So there's no presentations from responsible authorities. Okay. We'll now ask Mr. and Mrs. Elliott if they wish to speak. You're normally limited to about 3 minutes, but we'll be quite easy on that. So you carry on.
So, have you had the opportunity to read my objection? So if I read it, then I'm just going over what you already know. So I think I did cover most of it. I think we're concerned that, Jason has operated outside of his licensure, gave us that experience. Where we're positioned in the village, I mean, there are a number of other houses, and I must say, not many people wanted to put through this process. It's quite a quiet village. It's a nice, sociable village. But we do feel that because the ground is quite elevated where we live, and because our property and our holiday lets face the lime kiln, we do get quite a large impact of any noise that goes on, and the motorbikes did get incredibly noisy. I don't believe they were arriving, having a drink and something to eat, and then toddling off quietly. I think they were making full use of the facilities, including the road. As I say, we do have guests arriving from 4 p.m. If we have to, we are reliant on our business. To put it bluntly, we feel that if Jason has a business, he has a pub, a successful pub, he can serve food, anybody can buy food and drink at the bar and eat it outside if they wish and drink outside if they wish. These longer events and noisier events and music outside, there's nothing to stop and deaden the sound. If we had to warn every guest that comes to us that they may be disturbed up to midnight by loud music and people coming and going, we won't have a business, we won't have an income, and we don't have any other source of income. That is our income, that is our business. So in actual fact, you're closing one business to open another business. That's how serious we feel it is, and that's why we're here. Our guests don't always want to self-cater. They want to eat out. They go to the Devonshire Arms and they go to the Lime Kiln. They don't go there on the Monday at the moment because they're closed, and that's how we become aware of that. We support Jason's business, but we live in Knowle and we run a business in Knowle and have done for the last 9 years. Jason doesn't live on the premises, so he can go home and he won't have a good night's sleep, and he won't be disturbed by whatever's going on. And I think that really summarises our concerns. Also, with weddings now comes fireworks and all the paraphernalia that goes with that. And it's a farming area. We have horses. Other people in the village have animals, horses, livestock. It's a dairy farm very close by. We're not objecting to Jason having a business. We don't want to close his business down. We just want his business to consider local residents, the impact that he's having on it. The business has been there a long time. We've been there a long time. And all my complaints last year went unnoted, unresponded to, which is why I turned to the council and why I turned to the police. And my next step was going to be to contact the environmental agency, because it was having such a detrimental impact on our lives and our business. And I think that is all I really can say. I can't say it any stronger than that. We have nothing against Jason's business as it currently stands.
Thank you very much. I can hear your passion.
Thank you.
Mr. Elliott, did you want to say anything as well? No. Okay. Simon, do you have any questions?
It's not really a question. It's a comment, really. You've mentioned a couple of times, Mrs. Elliott, that the noises were going on much later in the evening. At that point, they are still within the current licensing hours that the pub has. The license for the pub is until to sale of alcohol up until midnight. The variation on the license that Jason is seeking is to have the ability to put an outside bar to make life easier for his sales staff, and in the garden on those events, but still ceasing at midnight for the sale of alcohol and 30 minutes after to clear out and get everybody away from the premises. The activities that he's been engaging in, unless there is a breach of decibels in terms of the noise factor and times, are still within his current license. This application says to vary his ability to serve alcohol outside of the pub premises and in the garden area. And I'm guessing if he puts up his wedding marquee, if he were to do that, he would need planning permission for that. And obviously that would have to go to the planning committee for them to approve. But I would assume that would also have a bar in if it's for weddings and functions of that kind. It makes more sense to have a bar in the marquee than it does having everybody going in and out of the pub, particularly if there's a busy restaurant. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that Schultz is within his current licence. It is the question of whether he's going to be permitted to set up a bar in the garden area, and if so, are we going to specify where it might go and where is a reasonable place to go? So I just needed to make sure everybody understood where we were with that.
Yep. Okay, if you'd like to make it.
I think the issue there is, I completely understand that, and we don't have any problem with that. The problem is it's a different kind of business. It's a different kind of business when you've got people congregating outside around a bar than congregation inside around a bar. If you're having lots of pubs, as Jason says, lots of pubs have live music. We're well aware of that. They're inside and that deadens the sound. As soon as you start having bars outside and people congregating outside, it encourages a different clientele, i.e. the motorbikes and the wedding guests and people running around and making more noise. And the noise outside from music will actually, there's nothing to stop it, there's nothing to deaden it, no stone walls, just canvas, and I don't think it works.
Thank you. Martin, did you have any questions?
Yeah, no, I'm just reinforcing what just inferring. So you see a very clear difference between what's happening inside the pub and what's happening outside the pub, and that's your key concern. Thank you.
Yeah, because we've had 9 years experience. You know, the Lime Kiln Inn was previously owned by Buckham and it was run successfully and never caused us any problem and didn't encroach on our lives or our business during that time.
Thank you. Thank you. Just in summary there, the application is to extend the area, not the hours, basically. Rachel, did you have any question?
No, thank you.
Yes, if I can just ask the licensing officer to confirm the live music can still have live music without this extension. Just clarify that.
Yeah, there is. So there's a number of exemptions in relation to music. So for licensed premises, there would be an automatic entitlement to have live and recorded music between 8 AM and 11 PM. But for other types of premises, so workplaces, so because the definition of a workplace is very broad in the legislation, it would technically include beer gardens and things like that. So there would be the premises license holder would be able to have live music outside in the outside area between the hours of 8 AM and 11 PM for as long as there's no more than 500 people in the audience. So that would be the case for this.
Thank you. I'll call you Jason, it's easier for me. Jason, do you have any questions of Mr. and Mrs. Elliott?
No, don't think so, no.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm now going to ask, we go through summing up basically. So if I can ask Mr. and Mrs. Elliott, first of all, if they just wish to sum up and say, summarise their case if they wish to.
Well, I think that I've covered everything that we have concerned about, and I think that it's very clear that whilst this application is it's to allow music to be played outside, and because because obviously drink is going to be served outside. It changes the nature of the business. And so therefore there is a number of reasons why, you know, we have decided to object to this application. We don't want to, as I say, we don't want to stop him running his business, and it is a successful business already. We just don't understand the need that to allow this license to go ahead, which will impact on not just us, other objectors. There have been other objectors and lots of other people not happy about it, but don't want to formally object. Not everybody wants to put themselves through this process. We certainly don't want to be here today. We've got other things to do. So we think that we would ask that the committee, you know, look at those objections and match those objections to the licence application and ask, is it really necessary? Because this is a snowball. This is not just, you know, one application. It's going to lead to the marquee, to the outdoor events. You know, everyone out in Knoll will be moving house. It's just very unfair of Jason not to consider local people. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Jason, did you wish to sum up?
Yes, thank you. Mrs. Elliott commented that Butcombe had a Butcombe Brewery, who owned the pub before me, the people I bought it from, that they had also been successful. Whereas in reality, they sold the pub because they were losing a fortune. They bought it for a set amount of money and they sold it for almost a third of what they paid for it because they were losing money. I've owned it for just over a year, and that year, although the business has picked up and grown and I would say almost doubled, even the last year has been tough. I've lost money. I haven't made a profit. And I know that people looking at a business from the outside will see lots of cars, lots of customers, and assume that you're doing very well and making a fortune, but that's not always the case. Things are going to become a lot tougher in the new year with the new bits that the new government is introducing, increases to wages, national insurance, business rates. And my accountants have let me know that it's going to cost me an extra 50,000 per year, the costs on those few things alone, if I continue to run the pub as I have for the last year. And that's going to be hard to deal with. So I think pubs, and not just me, pubs in general, look for ways to subsidize and improve and increase business. I think they have to. Hence why we have things like motorbike evenings and classic car shows. Because those people will come along on those days, but then they will also tell their friends and family, and they'll come back on other days as well. I don't think I'm the only one in the area who has these sort of events either, because if you go into the next village, Long Sutton, yep, they have villages close by within the sort of 3-4 mile range. They also have motorbike events and classic car events. And I think in Somerset, it seems very popular. Classic cars, there's a lot of enthusiasts and these sort of events in general. And as I say, I was approached by people wanting to host these events at our pub because of the location, because we're the facilities we have a lot of outdoor space. The property itself is about 2.5 acres, so lots of parking, a couple of fields that we can get people to use as overflow parking, etc., etc. So just to summarize, I am sorry to hear that I'm having a negative effect on people like the Elliots and local residents. The feeling that I've had from local people is that most of them seem to be very supportive. And want to see things continue. Noel is down the hill from us, so I guess you would be affected by noise, etc., going down into the valley. But I think it's almost a mile from us as the crow flies. That's all I have to say. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Does the license, can the licensing officer please do their sum up?
Yeah, so just in summary, the application is to add an external area and for it to be authorised for the sale of alcohol between the hours of 11 a.m. and midnight with a finishing time of midnight midnight. And the options available to the subcommittee are to grant the application, modify the conditions of the licence by way of altering, omitting or adding a new one, or to reject whole or part of the application. And in doing so, you must have regard to the relevant representations that have been received, the guidance to the Licensing Act and the Council's Statement of Licensing Policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What we're going to do now, we will, I'm not sure, are we retiring, Claire?
No, what we'll do now.
They going to retire or we going to retire?
Thank you, Chair. What will happen now is that our guests will retire, and if the subcommittee feel that you can make a decision this morning, then we'll estimate a time and call them back in.
Thank you. So what we'll do now then is close the meeting. We'll try and come to a decision fairly swiftly. You're welcome to wait. I can't tell you how long that will be. I wouldn't have thought it'd be more than half an hour at the most. Alternatively, you will be advised within 5 working days. 5 working days of the decision. And any decision made, you'll have 21 days for a right of appeal to the local magistrates court. Sorry. Okay, so goodness me, if I can ask everybody to retire, you're welcome to wait, as I said, apart from the legal officer who will remain with us for our discussions. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Elliott. I think you're going to a vet's appointment, aren't you? No, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Thank you for waiting. We've come to a decision. The decision is that we will agree the application as applied for. Parties will be notified within 5 working days of our decision, and a right to appeal will be within 21 days to the local magistrates court. We would suggest that the complainants are advised that they do have a right to ask for the licence to be reviewed if the nuisance is particularly bad going forward, but we can't really make a decision based on what might happen in the future. So our decision is to grant the application as applied for. Thank you. Meeting closed. Thank you.